All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to unlock one of the most crucial parts of any project, scope. This is where the big ideas have to meet the real world. And you know what? Getting it right is absolutely everything. So let's really get into what that means.
I mean, come on, we've all seen it, right? A project kicks off with this super clear goal, but somehow it ends up late, way over budget, or worst of all, it delivers something that, well, nobody actually wanted in the first place. It's a common story, and it's frustrating as heck.
So what's the common thread in these disasters? 9 times out of 10, it's a failure to manage the scope. Seriously, mastering this one area is pretty much the difference between delivering incredible value and just creating a giant, costly mess. So let's break down the 10 key concepts you absolutely need to know.
Okay, first things first. Before we do anything else, we have to establish the project's core identity, its DNA. This is all about answering two really fundamental questions. Why are we even doing this, and what are we actually trying to build?
Everything starts right here with the business case. Think of this as your project's origin story. It lays out the costs, it lays out the benefits, and it makes the case for why this project is worth everyone's time and money. Without a solid business case, your project is just a nice idea with no real justification. And you know what happens to those? They're the first on the chopping block when budgets get tight. It's the documented answer to the question, why should we bother?
So once you know your why, you've got to define the specific needs. We call these the requirements. You know, if your project is building a house, a requirement might be it must have 3 bedrooms, or the kitchen has to face east to get the morning sun. These are the non-negotiables for success. If you miss a key requirement, it doesn't matter how beautifully you built the house. Your client is not going to be happy.
And that leads us right into product scope. This is the what. It's a description of the end result, the actual thing your customer will hold or click on or use. It's all about the features and functions of the final deliverable itself. What's it going to look like? What's it supposed to do?
And right alongside it, you have its crucial sibling, the project scope. Now, this isn't the what, this is the how. Project scope defines all the work, all the tasks, all the processes your team has to do to actually create the product. It's the journey, not just the destination.
So let's be super clear on this because it's so important. Project scope is the work you do. Product scope is the thing you deliver. Confusing these two is a classic textbook project killer. You either get so focused on the process that you deliver a product nobody wants, or you get hammered with requests for new features without ever planning for the work required to build them. Getting this distinction right is absolutely foundational.
All right, so we've laid our foundation. Now it's time to create the blueprint. These next few concepts are the tools we're going to use to structure all that work and turn our well-defined idea into a real, concrete, actionable plan.
And that blueprint, well, we call that the scope baseline. This is the official, approved version of your plan. It's your single source of truth for what's in and what's out. Think of it as the yardstick you'll use to measure your progress. Without it, you're flying blind. You have no way of knowing if you're on track, and every new request feels urgent, which just leads to chaos.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. That baseline isn't always set in stone. In a traditional predictive kind of project, it's locked down at the very beginning, and you need a formal process to change it. But in a more adaptive or agile world, the baseline is way more fluid. It gets defined for each little chunk of work, each iteration, and approved more dynamically. Same core concept, just a very different way of applying it.
Okay, so you have all this work defined in your scope. How in the world do you manage it? Well, you use a work breakdown structure, or a WBS. This is just a way of taking a massive, overwhelming project and breaking it down layer by layer into smaller, more manageable pieces. It's the absolute key to making a huge project feel achievable. Skipping this is exactly why big tasks get forgotten and why those initial estimates are often total fantasy.
Now for a more modern tool, the Value Breakdown Structure, or VBS. This is a subtle but really powerful shift. While a WBS breaks down the work, a VBS connects every single piece of that work directly to the business value it's supposed to create. This forces the team to constantly ask, why are we building this specific feature, and what is it actually worth?
And this table makes the idea super clear. You can see how a big deliverable, like a new customer portal, isn't just a thing to build, it's explicitly linked to an expected value, $2 million a year in revenue. This is what helps teams prioritize the work that's going to deliver the biggest bang for the buck.
Okay, so we've defined the work. We've planned it out. But here's the big question. How do we make sure the work is actually any good? This last set of concepts is all about ensuring quality and looking at scope through the lens of modern, adaptive project management.
Now, this next idea is a total game changer. Quality is not something you check for at the end. It's a fundamental part of the scope itself. You have to treat it like a feature that needs to be defined from the very beginning. The moment you treat quality as just a final inspection step, you're basically planning for expensive rework and disappointed customers.
And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? You're not just building a bridge. You're building a bridge that needs to be sturdy, long-lasting, and easy to maintain. Those are quality attributes, and they are absolutely 100% part of the scope. They're not afterthoughts.
In the adaptive world, the product backlog is king. It's this living, breathing, prioritized list of everything that might possibly be needed in the final product. So instead of a rigid plan that's set in stone, you have this dynamic tool for managing scope and focusing on delivering real value, continuously.
So finally, how does anybody on the team actually know when a piece of work is really finished? The answer is the definition of done. It's a simple but incredibly powerful checklist that creates a shared understanding of what complete really means. It gets rid of all those end-of-the-week arguments and that classic, well, it works on my machine problem. No ambiguity, just clarity.
So let's bring it all home. We've just walked through 10 really powerful concepts. When you use them together, they form a complete toolkit for mastering your project scope and delivering results that actually matter. And just think about how they all build on each other. The business case gives you the why. The requirements and scopes define the what and how. The baseline and the WBS give you the plan. And then tools like the backlog and the definition of done make sure you build the right thing the right way. And that right there might be the most important takeaway of all. These are not 10 separate items to check off a list. They are an interconnected system. Your requirements inform your product scope, which is then built using your project scope, and it's all measured against the baseline and verified with your definition of done. They all have to work together.
Because really, at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. Mastering these 10 keys to scope gives you the power to take a brilliant idea, a spark of inspiration, and successfully, predictably, turn it into a valuable reality.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about for your own work. Are you treating scope like a rigid fence, a set of rules you have to follow no matter what? Or are you using it as an intelligent, flexible guide that helps you navigate toward creating the most possible value? The answer to that makes all the difference. Thanks for joining me.